Thank you all for joining the kickoff call for Genesis Cohort 1. Congratulations again on becoming the first cohort for Genesis founding members. We're very grateful to have each one of you in the community and to see you now becoming Genesis founding members, who play a key role now in building on Coda's success and also in the future when mainnet goes live. In this call, we look forward to talk to you, share some insights into Genesis, and answer questions that you might have. Before we go on, let's us first introduce attendees from O1 Labs to you, the team building Coda protocol. Today we have people from different sides here. I'll start. I'm Christine, community manager at O1 Labs. We already had contact with each other during the onboarding process. You've most probably also seen me around on Discord. I enjoy getting to know members of our community. And if you have any ideas or feedback on how we can build a great community together, or if you need help with something, you can always reach out to me. Who wants to go next?
I'm Evan. I'm one of the co-founders and now the CEO of O1 Labs. Yeah, I mean, I guess like we started the project a couple of years ago, and we've just been like building it. And now we're like super excited that the project is out there, and like you all are, you know, here to help us build it. Like we definitely like just couldn't do this project without like a community, and we're really excited that you guys will be involved in building it with us. It's like the first step of like growing Coda into like the bigger project it will be, and we're really excited that you'll be here for that journey.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm head of product engineering. I led the test. And I just want to take like a minute or so just to like tell everyone, you know, well, to just give you a little story, I guess. So I joined the project with Evan and Isaac, the two founders. Well, I guess before founding of the company, and I worked on nights and weekends on the project, and then about 2.25 years ago, we sort of decided to do it full time, and then Brad and I joined around that time, and at that point there was just 4 of us, and we didn't really have much. We had like a hacky prototype. And over the course of the next 1.5 years, we built out like the first version of the testnet, and it's so awesome to see like how you know where we are now. Like the testnet, you know, I mean, at this moment we're fixing a few bugs, but as you all have successfully been able to use it before, it's like, it's awesome to see all of you like helping us, you know, build Coda, like deliver on our vision of this protocol. So I really want to say thank you. It's so awesome, and I really enjoyed interacting with you all.
I'm Brad. I'm head of strategy and operations. Yeah, I've just been watching with amazement at sort of everyone who's joining the community and helping build and work on it. So I'm really excited to see you guys in person now.
Hey everyone, this is Emre speaking. I am also a part of O1 Labs. I work on business development. I just want to echo what Evan said. Any true public decentralized blockchain is, you know, started and maintained by a decentralized group of people. At O1 Labs, we merely created and threw in the initial idea, but this whole thing is going to be real thanks to all of you, and you know, thanks to the amazing work you all are doing, and hopefully a growing group of Genesis members. So super excited to get to know all of you more and do some amazing stuff with Coda.
Yeah, and hi everyone, my name is Sherry. I'm part of the marketing and community group here at O1 Labs. I've seen, you know, talked to some of you through video calls and in person, and I've been watching very excitedly, everyone being very helpful and participating on Discord. So yeah, I'm just happy that all of you are here and part of Genesis.
As all of us already said, we're very excited to enable the first blockchain that is truly decentralized at scale with you. You've all been amazing. Seeing you all participate has been very motivating for actually the entire team. I remember that the team was a bit nervous and excited at the same time when we opened up the testnet to public beta in July 2019, because it was still very early for the project back then. And it was awesome to see positive feedback, to see people joining and actively participating. I remember Alexander creating videos and guides for the Russian community. And of course, Gareth Davis wrote this super helpful Coda block explorer that he kept improving over the testnet phases. Dimitri in German created this Russian Telegram group that they have been growing and maintaining. New has been helping on the Chinese WeChat. And it's also awesome to see that many of you took the lead in helping each other, like What a Day Today, PK, of course, Kunkomu, and many, many more of you that I cannot mention now. And the community kept growing and more amazing and friendly people joined. We're very, very grateful for where the project is today, and it's truly wouldn't be possible without each of you. And we hope that you will continue to be Coda's cornerstones and further grow Coda into the most decentralized and secure crypto protocol together. So the Genesis program is meant to prepare you to become Coda's protocol's first block producers upon mainnet launch. Let us share some insights about Genesis with you. If we're going to look to the agenda for this call, so first we're going to share some insights into cohort 1 with you. Then we'll go a bit into the Genesis program details and requirements. Then we'll tell you something about the staking rewards and inflation. We'll share some recommendations how to stay updated, and we'll also share our next goals with you. At the end, there will be the opportunity to ask questions. So first, some insights into cohort 1. So there are 40 members. Congratulations again. All Genesis founding members are from 15 different countries. At the right, you see the map. At the left, you see the list of the countries. We're very happy that with this first cohort, we're already this decentralized. Here you see the number of Genesis founding members from different countries. We have many Russian Genesis founding members. We also have 5 Genesis founding members from China, and we hope that we can also grow the communities in other countries. There is around 80-20 ratio between hobbyist and professional or semi-professional node operators. We're very happy to welcome Bison Trails, Figment Networks, Sparkpool, DSRV Labs, Genesis Lab, NodeEasy, BitCat, Moonlime, and Stakerspace into Genesis. It's also great that almost all Genesis founding members plan to run a node themselves and stake. The majority is also planning to run a SNARK worker. Cohort 1 is very technical. The majority has experience writing code, which is awesome. And everyone has different skill sets. Here we also see that people have experience with creating content and organizing meetups. All right, now let's go into some of the program details and requirements. So for Genesis, up to 1,000 members will be selected from the Coda testnet users to receive a distribution of 66,000 tokens. And we're very happy to share 6.6% of Coda tokens with Genesis founding members. And then we want to mention 2 important requirements for Genesis to avoid disappointment in the future. If you receive a distribution, you must stake or delegate your entire distribution for a continuous period of 1 year, starting on the day of Coda Protocol's mainnet. Please don't forget this, because if you do not stake or delegate the entire amount of your distribution for the duration of the staking period, then you will forfeit your entire distribution. The second requirement is about the lockup period. Distributions will be locked up for 4 years after mainnet launch. During this time, locked tokens will not be able to be transferred. After the first year, 1/4 of tokens will become unlocked. The rest will become unlocked in equal monthly tranches over the following 3 years. For the full terms and conditions, you can go to the below links. Does anyone have a question about the requirements? All right. Okay, then we'll continue. And then staking rewards and inflation, which are also very interesting for block producers. Emre will tell you more about this.
Sure. And I just saw that someone had a question with regard to some of the Genesis rules. Maybe we can answer that during the Q&A. So Christina, unless you want to answer right away, I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see the chat, but I'll take a look.
Yeah. So as you all know, Coda is a proof of stake network where token holders have the ability to stake their tokens and secure the network. So this has a number of benefits compared to other proof of work networks such as Bitcoin, and a couple small nuances. So Kristen, if you can go ahead to the next slide, I'll just cover a couple of these. So at Coda, we use a specific proof of stake algorithm, or a variant of it rather. The original one is called Ouroboros, and we have modified it to have it work in a succinct environment that the Coda blockchain works in. What this allows us to do is multiple different things, but I think one of the most important ones is that there is no limit to the number of wallets that can stake on the network. Those of you familiar with other proof of stake networks may be familiar. Most of them have a cap around 100 or so validators. This creates a number of undesired circumstances. But one of the main benefits of Coda, and one of the reasons why it's much more decentralized, is that there's no limit to these number of stakers. The other thing, which is the same across many proof of stake networks, is that the staking rewards are distributed pro rata to how much you are staking. So the more you stake, the more block rewards you're expected to get from the protocol. We also recognize that many in or outside of the Genesis program will choose to delegate instead of staking directly. This is despite the fact that staking is relatively easier in Coda. Two things I want to highlight. One is that there is, for example, no slashing, which is what some of the other networks have, in that if you are not accurately staking for whatever reason, the protocol automatically destroys a portion of your stake, whereas Coda does not have this. So there's less risk involved for validators, as well as we are working on a number of toolings that makes direct staking a lot easier. One example of this is our desktop wallet. So we do expect to see a lot more decentralization and distribution of wallets that are directly staking. However, we do recognize that there's going to be delegation, which is also in the benefit of folks such as this group, because you all are going to be much more experienced than the average Coda holder in staking. So you can expect other folks to delegate to you and perhaps run this as a business yourselves. The other thing I want to quickly touch upon is that block rewards and inflation. So as you can see on the graph to the right, we do have what we call a dynamic inflation rate at the first throughout the first 5 years. So inflation starts at 12% in the initial months of the mainnet launch, and then it gradually drops to 7%. The reason it starts high is to further incentivize staking, because staking, as you all would know, secures the network, makes it more robust and lively. And during the first months of the protocol, we want to incentivize this as much as possible. However, we also do realize, because of various monetary and economic dynamics at play, high inflation isn't very desired. And although it drops to 7% and can stay there, obviously as a public decentralized blockchain, it's up to the community to later on whether to adjust that inflation schedule or not. The one other nuance of Coda, because of the way Ouroboros works, is that block rewards are dynamically adjusted based on the stake participation rate. So if you visualize the blocks in Coda in a timeline, the main timeline is actually the number of slots that that are broken up across time. And the one nuance is that not every slot might get a block. One way to think about this is if all of the Coda supply was staking, all of the slots would get filled with a block. However, this is not completely accurate, but just for representation, if half of Codas were staked, then about half of the blocks or slots would be filled with blocks. So because of this difference, the inflation rate will be hit by the protocol dynamically adjusting block rewards. So that's one nuance that you should be aware of as block producers. So that's all about staking. In the interest of time, maybe why don't we keep going? And then if there's any questions about this, I'm happy to answer during the Q&A.
Great, thank you, Emre. We'll leave the questions to the end. How to stay updated. So we all have your email from the onboarding process. We'll be sending important updates to you by email. We'll also share them on Discord. I think many of you have already noticed we have a new channel for Genesis founding members. So after the call, please head over and introduce yourself so we can get to know each other better. Maybe just like where you're from, what you're excited about, projects that you're working on. Those are all great things to share. It will also be good to keep an eye on the announcement channel. And participating in testnet will also help you to stay updated. It will help you to keep updated on the latest features of the protocol and also all the available tooling. You could also practice or test those tooling during testnet. So we'd recommend you to keep being active. And then what's next? What are our next goals? Our goal is to reach 1,000 Genesis members. So we have onboarded 40 now. That means that we have 960 to go. One way that we want to reach this is to get more Genesis applicants by the end of March. Right now we have 1,660 applications. And with applications, I mean the people that sign up for Genesis on our website. We'd love to get more applications, and we'd love to get your help in that. So if you have any friends who you think would be a great fit for Coda and you think they would be interested in becoming a block producer as well, please refer them, or you could post about your Genesis grant in groups or forums you belong to. You could help share our tweets, or maybe organize meetups, maybe virtual meetups for now. And then we also want to grow Coda's testnet user base. The goal is to reach 600 testnet users by the end of phase 3. You could help in that, and many of you have already been doing that by helping each other out when people have questions or get stuck. And the last one is to grow the ecosystem. Many of you have also been building a lot of tooling, which is great. We want to keep attracting that. And also, if you've built something or if you're planning to build something, please share them on the new Coda Wiki. We've seen many useful tools in the last phases, but they're getting a bit buried on Discord. So that's why we want to encourage everyone to put it on the Coda Wiki. That makes it easier for new members and other older members to find again. So yeah, you can always reach out to us. Your involvement in the community is key to Coda's future. As an ambassador of Coda, the community will depend on you to grow Coda into the most decentralized protocol. If there's anything you need or that we can help you with to grow and achieve your goals, please let us know. We'll be here to support you. For instance, Greg had an idea to organize a meetup in San Francisco, and we collaborated in that. Yeah, it was a success. Our team loved to meet all the members over there. So if you have something that you want to try out, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help. Yeah, and if you have any feedback, suggestions, or ideas, those are welcome as well. For instance, we really appreciate everyone's effort to complete the eligibility checks for the Genesis onboarding process. We're aware that they might have been a bit laborious, so we really appreciate your time. If you have any feedback to improve the process, feel free to share them in a Genesis founding member channel on Discord or ping me. We can all make the onboarding process a good experience for the next 960 Genesis founding members. Okay, and now we want to leave some time for Q&A and answer everyone's questions. Who wants to start?
Christine, I think there's a number of questions in the chat. If you can see it, why don't we maybe get started from there?
All right. Let's see. Okay, I'll start with the first question from Matt. Is there any need to hold back tokens to use for transaction fees? Who wants to take this one?
I can go ahead. Yeah, like any blockchain network, there will be transaction fees, but given Coda's future scalability, that should be way less than other chains. So yeah, I would consider it the same as any other chain, and then just look at how it evolves throughout time to budget your own transaction fee.
Okay, just to clarify my question, that there seems to be a requirement that we stake all of our granted tokens. So I just wanted to understand how that interacts with holding off some for transaction fees.
So you have to stake, right, at first, and because the first release or vesting, if you will, of the tokens happens on year one. Until then, you won't be able to use any of your Genesis grant for transaction fees anyways. So you either would have to wait until you get block rewards and can use, which are not going to be locked up. You can use those for transaction fees or purchase in the open market when they're available. Does that answer the question?
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe to add,
not ask in the Discord, but yeah, that clarifies for me. If I have anything further, I'll ask in the Discord.
Staking also on our consensus, the Ouroboros, means you do not have to like lock those staked tokens. You can still use them for transaction fees and stuff. It just means you'll have less to stake next time around when there's a new epoch. Maybe that was added more confusion than not, but we can talk in the Discord later.
Got it. Thanks. Yep.
All right, let's go to the next question. From Kunkomu, what about spouses? Like my wife? I mean, it would be me running the nodes and all, but two people in a taxes type thinking. I don't really understand this question. Do you mean, what if your wife wants to participate as well?
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Kunkomu.
Okay, there. I don't know if I have my mic on mute or not. So no, so you're talking about trying to fill 960 spots for the Genesis ledgers. So what if we had, our wives and we wanted to run 2 nodes? Now, granted, that could be almost considered that you have 2 nodes, so you're double dipping into the same network, but it'd be something to help out fill spots, right?
I think it would be great if you could onboard your wife, help her get familiar with the testnet. So the goal for Genesis is to get more block producers. If you could like teach your wife how to run a node, I think that would be great. We do want to be able to independently run a node. So not like, oh, Kunkomu is doing everything and yeah, my wife's only doing KYC.
Yeah, Kunkomu, maybe if I can add, we don't want to encourage anyone to create ghost Genesis memberships, right? Then it's not fair to you all. Exactly. So as Evan and Christine said, to the extent anyone related to you is, willing to learn how to do it independently, we'll do our best via, some of the video chats and stuff that you all went through to make sure that that's relevant for everyone. So to the extent they're willing to do it, great. But we'll do our best to prevent any like ghost accounts, if you will.
Good deal. And that was the main thing I was asking for. So.
All right. Then next question from Igor. When approximately do you plan to launch mainnet? Is it possible to launch the main network with only 40 first Genesis members, or do we need to wait for a full set of 1,000 people?
I can.
Okay.
So there's a few things we have to complete before we can launch mainnet. We have to finish up the current phase 3. We got to launch phase 4, and which will be more about like economics and building on top of Coda, and then we have to do an adversarial testnet. After we do all those, we can launch. The goal is we're going to try to get all 1,000 people during this phase, next phase, and the adversarial testnet. So it's less that we need to wait, but we're going to try to do it.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, right. I see one from German. I think one of the main question is, what are the main use cases of Coda? Because one of the most threats in launching new projects is they may have a good tech and zero adoption. What are your thoughts? I think it may boost interest to the project if people will see future use cases.
Sure, I can go ahead, and Evan, please chime in. So this is a great question and something that we're actively working on. Some of you may even, filled out a user survey that we sent out. So we see Coda as open programmable money. What that means is that it is intended to fulfill kind of the original vision of cryptocurrency in a way. What people start with Bitcoin and others, in that all those people are very active, including many of you in various different crypto networks right now. So deferred, and one of the main things that they're all looking for is for decentralization. And Coda is one of the few projects that is actually able to claim that whilst providing scalability and all of that. So that's going to be definitely one of our main audiences that we're going to be going after in terms of making sure that they're aware of Coda and that it resonates with them. It's essentially kind of the first step one of the main kind of audience and use case for Coda, this concept of open decentralized money. However, that's not obviously enough by itself. You need to have an actual economy going around the network and the cryptocurrency. That economy, we think, will be driven initially by folks that have all tried to generate peer-to-peer cash applications, such as how they first started with Bitcoin. Some of those folks are now lurking in some of the other blockchains. But for various reasons which we think Coda can help with, that vision has not been fulfilled, right? And one of the main actual reasons, if I can give an example, is how hard it is for a developer to get going with any of these other chains. For example, if you look at Ethereum, right, it's a project that's been amazing for the entire space. However, right now, for a developer to get going with integrating Ethereum into their application, they first need to learn a whole new way of development and programming, and it's this whole new thing that they first need to understand, and then they need to go back and figure out how to integrate it into their project. With Coda, our vision is just to make that as easy as possible, to make it as simple as a few lines of code, so that anyone can get going in 5 minutes. One can think of it kind of like a Stripe of crypto, if you're familiar with the payment processing application. So with that, we hope to see, and with some of the other benefits of Coda, a lot of peer-to-peer cash applications going. And we definitely think that certain underserved communities are going to take much better advantage of this. If you're following just how the internet is evolving these days, there's a lot of innovative and engaging ideas that are coming from younger hackers all around, and developers that are coming up with new applications that we can't even imagine right now. So that is kind of the high level thinking. Obviously, there's a lot more tangible steps that we're planning on. And to the extent you all have ideas or you all want to contribute with either reaching out to different audiences, which is definitely something we can use your help with, audiences such as Bitcoin developers or Bitcoin Cash developers, etc., or to the extent you want to just develop applications or toolings on top of Coda. Those are all great things that you can do to help support this vision. And yeah, we'll release more about this thinking in our plans. But again, it's not meant to be that O1 Labs controls the use case. We're just going to come out with a proposal, and to the extent people think Coda feeds to a different vision, that's for you guys to figure it out and then push it ahead. It's not for us to approve or do anything about it.
All right.
Yeah, if I could add briefly, I think it's a really good question, because I think we have really great tech, but then where does that turn into? Where does that go down the road? The way I think about it is I think Bitcoin right now is digital gold. It's an agreed upon thing that Bitcoin has become digital gold. But I think its original dream was more than digital gold. It was digital money. It was going to be this internet money everyone can use and have free access to. And as Bitcoin has moved towards digital gold, I think there hasn't really been a chain to kind of take up the mantle of that vision. And I think that we can do that with Coda, with its technology, and with the software it'll support, and with the development experience it'll bring. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also excited for eventually Coda to use SNARKs for privacy beyond money as a way to create more fair platforms that can create a more fair digital experience for people on the internet.
Okay, then next question from Greg. I just heard 3 testnet phases and then mainnet. Any guesstimates on the dates?
So yeah, so we had our phase 1, phase 2. We're on phase 3 right now. Then we'll have phase 4, and then it'll be adversarial. To give a sense of this, like a lowerish bound, phase 3, we'll be launching 3.2 soon, and then there'll be 3.3 and 3.4. Each will last 2 weeks. In phase 4, there are, I think, be also 3 or 4 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, each of which also 2 weeks. No, it's only Christine's shaking her head. It's only 3. It's only 3. Okay. So 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and then there'll probably be 6 weeks of adversarial. And that's a lower bound, given that, things work well each of those phases. It'll be exciting because each of those phases will introduce new things to the protocol, and there'll be new things for us to test and play with. So we'll have a really, really strong mainnet launch. But we need to finish all those to be able to launch a mainnet successfully, we think.
All right. Thank you, Evan. Next one from Kunkomu. How are you guys coming along with the testnet and working around this pandemic? Who wants to take that one? Everyone's working from home now.
You can see we're all working from home, right?
I'd say that we're, as the entire industry, we're perhaps in a more fortunate position, just because no one obviously wants this to be present in the world and then for us to all go back to our earlier lives. But cryptocurrency and blockchains are meant to be more resilient networks in the face of such challenges, right? So perhaps it's good for our industry to kind of showcase to everyone that this is needed in the world, as well as just seeing further engagement from the entire community, just because it's again decentralized, which is what we're all doing, social distancing and all. And making sure that people have more time for projects and proposals such as these, such as cryptocurrencies and Coda being one of them, that hopefully put our societies in a more resilient and better place. Hopefully in the very distant future something like this happens again.
Hi, I'm Stali. I'm from Shanghai, China. I have one question. I have one question. Besides, I want to set up a node for staking. I want to set up a SNARK worker. And I want to know more about the SNARK worker fee. Is that any suggestion about that kind of fee? Because I think if the fee is low, I think not a lot of people want to do that kind of thing, right? But if too high, I think everyone wants to set up a SNARK worker, right? So I want to know more detail about suggestion about the SNARK worker fee. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Hi. I can help answer that. Well, first of all, we're going to have a section of the testnet in about maybe a month or two from now, where we're going to focus on everyone working together to figure out some of the economics around the specifics of fees, about transaction fees and SNARK work fees. It is market driven. So if someone offers SNARK work for lower fee, then all producers will choose that SNARK work over SNARK work with a higher fee. So it will be similar to for SNARK work. The economics will be similar to proof of work, where if you have electricity that's cheaper than someone else, then you have a competitive advantage. So that's sort of the forces at nature there. And then or you either you have access to cheaper electricity, or you have access to software that can do the same work with less electricity. So you can have a competitive advantage, either software or hardware or whatever. So
yes. You are trying to say that is the fee is totally depends on the marketing, right? Yes,
exactly. And we will be having like a section of the testnet where we incentivize we will attempt to incentivize like a discovery of what that real price is by putting some real monetary value on testnet tokens or something like that. I don't know, whatever we're allowed to do, but something that will help us figure that out as a community. And maybe Brad, so maybe Brad can talk about the economics of the SNARK work.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. One thing is, if you are, I mean, you all might recognize this from running stakers yourselves, and this will be even more the case during mainnet, but a staker is not going to typically be pegging their CPU. Usually the utilization of the CPU will be lower than the maximum utilization, because that will typically only happen when you win a block. So you will have spare capacity in your existing node, spare compute capacity. So one thing that you can do with that capacity on the network is just put that towards SNARK work and earn snarking rewards with idle capacity on the computer that you have that's already operating on the network. So that's one way you can think about it. You have idle capacity ready, and any idle capacity you have on Coda or another network, you could just sort of point at the Snarketplace or the snarking marketplace, and that will give you some income for that compute. And what that exchange rate ends up being is something that will be determined by the market. But it is another sort of potential market that you could tap into.
Okay, I understand. Actually, the performance of the Zig SNARK is not easy to accelerate it, actually. I joined the Coda challenge, and the best performance is only three times, okay? It's not easy.
Yeah, I agree. We're actually, we continued the SNARK challenge with one of the winners, and I knew I recognized your name as someone who participated. So yeah, thanks for participating. But we're working with the winner of that challenge, and right now we're implementing GPU, a SNARK on GPU. So it is, I'm not going to reveal the numbers yet, but it is significantly improved. And we, of course, will make all of that code once it's finalized, open source, and available to the community.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Okay, thank you.
I just want to add one more thing to that. We expect that SNARK constructions improving systems will improve over time. So SNARK work is likely to become cheaper computationally and more accessible in terms of what hardware can generate proofs at expected speeds. So yeah, for your info, when we let the market do that, we also expect the cost to go down for the SNARK workers.
Yeah, so I think there are some questions typed into the chat, Christine. Did we want to read them and answer them?
Oh, I did not. Thank you, Sherry. I didn't see it.
Or I can read them. I just have them there. The first one's from What a Day Today. If there will be 1,000 validators from the community in total, then in theory they can all delegate coins to one validator. Is there any minimum number of actual validator nodes that need to be run? And how will token vesting or lock be implemented for community validators in technical terms?
So, right. In theory, all like 999 of the 1,000 could delegate to one. It could happen. We would prefer if more than one of the 1,000 staked. There is an economic incentive to do so. Because if you delegate, then you will someone you'll have to trust someone first of all, and then that unit that you trust needs to pay. We'll take a fee, some fee for actually doing the work of running the node for you. I believe there's going to be other bonuses for staking early on, which Brad can talk about. I don't know the details of that. And then also there are other forms of there are other tokens besides the tokens that are being granted from this program, and some of those we already have sort of some folks that want to stake that are different than one entity, I guess. Maybe Brad can add to that.
No, I don't have much to add to that. I think naturally people are going to choose to diversify like who they delegate to out of consideration for the security of the network. And our goal, and perhaps, if we empirically see that everyone is delegating to one person and that person is getting a substantial share of the network, then we will take steps to mitigate that, obviously, out of security concerns. But, I guess, it's all a trade-off. Other networks say you can have multiple delegates, or you can have, other networks bound it in some way, but those can easily be gotten around with Sybil attacks. So you can spin up, if we say only 5 people can delegate to one validator, well, then just pretend that you're 15 validators, and then you can get 5 times 15. So you have to, I guess, what we are working on is trying to make sure that it's decentralized by building out a decentralized community of folks who are going to have high uptime, high availability, and based on that, have the network be decentralized rather than putting in limits that are somewhat porous. Another option is having capital requirements, so saying that you need to bond a certain dollar figure or like number of Codas in order to have a certain amount of delegate onto you. Well, again, that means that you can split those among several different validators and perform the same attack. So it's hard to do something that's Sybil resistant in that way. And this is also something that the Bitcoin or proof of work community is vulnerable to. There's only a small number of mining pools. If you add up a couple of mining pools, you get to 51%. So these are things that we want to regulate on maybe a higher level of governance and sort of community, where we strongly encourage people and try and design a community from the bottom up so that it's decentralized, rather than putting in certain rules that might be easy to get around. And Brandon, do you want to take the second side of
Yes.
second half of that question?
Yeah. So cool. So technical details for locking and vesting. So we will be implementing time locked accounts. Well, okay. I guess to step back a bit, we will be expanding the types of transactions that you can do. So we're we will support arbitrary predicates on transactions. And in fact, there's a pull request that's up right now that implements a big part of that already, or at least it sets up the infrastructure for that. And on top of that, we will be implemented time locked accounts, and then vesting will also be baked in to the protocol as well to support this. For actual implementation details, it's still in the design phase, I guess you could say. But if you keep your eye on the GitHub repo, we'll have detailed specifications and with RFCs, requests for comments, to sort of work through the details. So hopefully that's an okay answer for now. But I guess the real answer will be in 2 months or so, ask again and there will be a better answer.
Next question.
If no one else has anything.
Mm-hmm. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about the staking and the uptime, and that when I read the documents, it seems like that it'll be automatically decided if your node goes down, there's the possibility to lose your coins at the start. And I was wondering how strict that is. You know, for example, if my node went down due to an upgrade or something like that, or some trouble, what kind of time I'd have to be able to get it back up before losing those coins, for example.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk to this. Yeah, so we're not going to be like insanely punitive on this measure. If your node goes down for a few minutes or a few hours, you're not going to lose all of your coins. So just want to make that clear off the bat. We haven't determined the exact threshold yet of what the expected uptime is going to be, but ballpark number, I think we're targeting something like 90% uptime, which is you are all probably quite experienced in the space. That's not that stringent of a requirement. It might be higher, it might be lower, but targeting around 90% uptime. And the way, yes, exactly, 19. So the way we'll measure that and the way we'll reward that on the protocol is we'll say, based on the inflation rate, we expect you to win some number of blocks. And there is, this is a stochastic thing. This is a statistical thing. So it's possible you'll win more blocks. It's possible you'll win less blocks. So we'll take like a 95% confidence interval around the number of blocks that you'll win if you're up 90% of the time. And if you're above the lower end of that confidence threshold, we will give you the staking rewards. So this is like, if you are acting, I guess the high levels, if you are acting in good faith, trying to keep your node up with reasonable consistency, you will win the rewards. If you leave halfway through the year, you won't win your rewards. So that's the intention behind this. We're not trying to make this, it's also something that's challenging to measure on the protocol itself. So we're not trying to make it punitive. What we are trying to do is keep everyone honest through the staking period.
Yeah, we'll fail, like, if we had to fail one way or the other, we will fail to detect all of the inactive folks rather than accidentally punish someone who is active. And again, this will be another discussion that will happen on an RFC document or something of the sort. So y'all can feel free to participate. But yeah, we want to come up with something that is fair and only affects those people who actually are inactive, and not people who are trying.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Hey, if nobody has any other questions, I would like to ask one. So I really appreciate the reach towards the community, the validators, everything that the team of Coda is trying to set up. I think it's very nice. But at the same time, I would expect this work to be done also at the user sides of things, which at the same time the community will be a part of it as well. But are there also like some work on this front?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to this a bit, and then if other folks have things to add. The way we're thinking about building up the community is basically in layers. So the first thing you have to do is build the protocol. So for the first year and a half, we were really, really focused on building the protocol and making sure that it existed. And we did very little, if any, community outreach. I was in charge of it, so you know how terrible it was. So we did very little at the beginning. Now we're at the stage where we're trying to build out the block producer community. So you all, and we are focusing a lot of energy on that. And we've been incredibly successful so far. So, depending on how you count the numbers, we are probably have the most decentralized, the most number of block producers of any comparable test network. So that's been incredibly successful as well. But once so the other two communities that I think you're referring to are developers and end users. And those are things that we totally have in mind. They're incredibly necessary, but unfortunately you can't really build those up before you know that the protocol is going to exist, so it's developed, and that it's going to be maintained and operated, so block producers. So we're sort of like, it's like baking a cake, we're basically doing it step by step. And right now we're really, really focused on building up all of the block producers and making sure that's decentralized and strong. But the next phases are exactly what you mentioned, making sure that we have a great development ecosystem, and then we have compelling use cases and applications built on top of it. And please, Sherry, Brandon, Christine, if you have anything to add.
No, that was a great explanation.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you.
I think there was a question from the chat as well from earlier, from Steven. Is the minimum recommended SNARK worker still at 16 CPUs?
I think you can get by with, so if you run your node, if on one node you are running your block production and SNARK work, then 16 CPUs, definitely. Because right now we don't really have great logic that's built in to like prioritize block production over SNARK work. And so if both are on, it's just, you might not be able to produce your block in time. So that's something that we want to get better as we go on. But if you are just running a SNARK worker, you actually don't need 16 CPUs. I believe right now you can get by with 4. You can do SNARK work fast enough to keep up with the network. There will be less, you'll produce less, like 4 times less work than someone who's running 16 cores on SNARK work, but it should still work.
Okay, I think Prague had asked something. Oh, well, GPU will be Cuda or OpenCL. Starly answered Cuda, but maybe the team can confirm.
Yeah, Cuda for now. Cuda for now.
Okay. And then a question from Anson. What's the demand side for using Coda at the very beginning? If the demand is very small, what's the incentive to run the SNARKER node apart from getting the inflation rewards?
So I can answer that. So the first thing is that I want to clarify is the SNARK rewards are different from inflation. SNARK reward, so the inflation schedule, that is referring to block rewards that are won. So those are going to be rewards that are won regardless. SNARK rewards are going to come out of transaction fees that end users pay. So there's a separation there that I wanted to make clear. The demand side for using Coda at the very beginning, I mean, this is maybe a little bit of what I was trying to get at earlier. So our understanding, or I guess our hypothesis, is that Coda is going to be an incredible platform for building cryptocurrency-enabled applications. And the reason we think that's true is because it is so much more lightweight than any other cryptocurrency out there. Rather than having to download gigabytes and gigabytes of data, end users can just download a tiny SNARK brief. And they can download that and verify and have full security of the protocol, regardless of what device they're on. They could be on their cell phones, they could be on their browsers, and they have the fully featured experience. So we think it is an incredible developer platform. But the way you build that up with a cryptocurrency is you can't just like another, it's not like a normal internet startup. You can't just get an AWS account and develop an app and scale infinitely. You have to basically build AWS. We have to build the infrastructure ourselves first. So this is what we're in the process of doing. And the way we're going about it is exactly as I described earlier. So starting with developing the core protocol, making sure that's rock solid, developing the block producer set, making sure that's decentralized and has high enough uptime, working on the development ecosystem, and then reaching out to end users. And that last stage it's challenging. And to be totally frank, I mean, we will see what happens. We think that insofar as people start to move to cryptocurrency and use it as a medium of exchange that's native to the internet, we have a huge potential to benefit from that. But again, it's a new industry. It's exciting for that reason, and we don't know what's going to happen. But we can't assure you that, we'll launch day one and it will be as popular as Bitcoin. It's a process of bringing people in from the broader community, explaining what we're doing, providing compelling use cases, and ourselves, making sure that it's a place that we want people want to join and be a part of.
And then I just want to add, we will be spending, O1 Labs engineering organization will be spending some cycles on the developer tooling, the SDK, things like that over the next few months. More so than we've been doing so far, just because we're getting closer to that stage.
Sorry.
Go on.
Oh, thank you. So if so far the requirement is to onboard 1,000 block producers, and we are here, like the first cohort is here, then when exactly are we expecting launch to be? Is that more based on the amount of validators or the node software to be ready?
It's the latter. 1,000, I would say, is our goal. I think that's an ambitious goal, and I think it's one that's achievable. We're trying to basically build this for, quality out. So really have a really strong group of core community members, and you all are in the first cohort, so you should feel incredibly proud of yourselves for being here. We made it very challenging to get in this group. It was a very high barrier to entry. But we're very, and going forward, we're going to be lowering that barrier to entry. It's going to be not as challenging technically to get up and run a node. We're going to be making a lot of investment in the software and user experience so that more and more people can stake on the network. But we are, starting with a group of very, very, sophisticated and experienced folks. So we are hoping to get to a very broad set by launch. 1,000 is our goal. It could be more, it could be less, but that's our goal. But we're going to launch when the network is ready, and you can be sufficiently decentralized with a lot less than 1,000 validators. You can be, other protocols launch with, dozens of validators. So we'll certainly exceed those by, hopefully an order of magnitude. But we're not going to say, oh, it's we have 1,000, time to launch. We'll launch when the software is ready, when we have confidence in it, and when we have confidence in the ecosystem of validators.
Next question. Let's see. There's one more from What a Day Today. What are the developers' expectations regarding network performance, transactions per second, at the time the main network is launched?
Yes, I can answer this. So we will not be focused on optimizing throughput at launch. Basically, there's a couple of reasons for this. So I guess to address, maybe I'll address the question in a different way, which is to say we intend to connect with developers and reach out to developers and sort of get them excited not via transactions per second, which isn't really relevant until the network is actually being used heavily, which doesn't happen in the beginning of the network's lifetime anyway. So for us, it's not worth our time to optimize that before launch, before we have enough people that will saturate it. But rather via those other avenues that Brad was mentioning, among other things. But I guess one big thing is that you can run your applications on any device without sacrificing security or and without delegating to some third party. So that's sort of the more of how we'll be connecting with developers, and the sorts of applications that you build on Coda might be different than those that you build on a network that has optimized for throughput.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to add some context to Brandon's answer is, for most protocols, increasing transactions per second is a philosophical decision. And the reason's a philosophical decision is because when you increase TPS, say in Bitcoin, you need to increase block size. When you increase block size, you say most people on the network are not going to be able to validate after a certain threshold because the blocks are going to be too big. You need a supercomputer to validate. You need racks and racks of servers to validate. The reason that's the case is because everyone needs to validate every transaction on the network. So that is the fundamental limitation that they run into. Coda is different. The way Coda works is the network works together to validate transactions, and then when you verify those transactions, it's really quick, it's really simple, it's unbelievably easy. And so we can scale up transactions per second. When the time comes and the network reaches that saturation, we will be directing a lot of engineering resources to scale up transactions per second. And we have a lot of different ideas of how to do that, and they're all very interesting and compelling. We're not going to prematurely optimize for that, though. What we are going to optimize for is all the other things you need to do to build the network. And then when we reach that stage, we can scale up transactions per second incredibly quickly, and it's an engineering problem, and we won't be sacrificing the ability of everyone on the network to continue verifying that the ledger is valid. So we don't face the same sort of philosophical quandary that every other cryptocurrency faces. It's just an engineering problem for us, and we have many, many, many ideas of how to solve it. I think it is very solvable, and when we get to that point, we will solve it. But we're not going to prematurely optimize that because, for many cryptocurrencies, that's a vanity metric. Like, it doesn't actually determine the success of the protocol. So we're going to be focusing on the things that are really important now, which is building out the community, working with you all, making sure there's great developer experience and great use cases. And then we'll be focusing on TPS when we reach that stage.
Yeah, just to add on that, actually, we have a really interesting blog post. I think it's about solving the scalability trilemma, which is basically what we're discussing here, right? So all the other protocols are focusing on TPS at the expense of decentralization, and basically Coda does not need to do that. They can address all three parts of the scalability triangle. So yeah, if you're interested, go ahead and read that blog post on the Coda blog.
All right, let's see. Are there any more other questions? All right. I guess then no other questions. Yeah, again, I want to thank everyone for your time. And again, congratulations. We're very happy to have you in the community and as part of Genesis. If some other questions come to mind after this call, or if you have ideas, suggestions, or if you need any help, you can reach out to us anytime. All right, that's all. Thank you, everyone, and see you around on Discord.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Great to meet
guys.
everyone.
Interesting.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.